what was your childhood fear? If you ask me what is my fear today, I would tell you public speaking without a second thought. Yes. But here I am today because whichever I fear, I naturally attract them. So here I am today asking, what was your childhood fear? If you don't have one, let me talk about mine. It was a pleasant evening. My parents decided to take me to a neighborhood carnival. I loved carnival at the age of 4. It was colorful, especially the giant wheels. Not so giant though, because those days in Colombo, Sri Lanka, yes, I was born and brought up there. In neighborhood carnivals, the giant wheels were not automated. Those were manual. I was so stubborn that I should get onto one. Then my dad said, "No, monkey, you're too small." Then I said, "No, I want to go." Then I asked him, "Can you accompany me?" Then he said, "No, it's only for the kids. They won't allow the parents." I started crying. Eventually, I won the argument. He allowed to send me with my elder cousin. Yay! So I got onto the wheel. The wheel started to spin. I was so excited. It spinned 180 degrees from the ground to the top. The moment I wanted to look down, I did. Bang! The next minute, I fell down. Gravity is real. I was on the floor. I injured my forehead against the floor. I barely heard voices. "Operator, stop, stop!" But the child had fallen down. That was the last word I heard. I lost my consciousness. When I woke up, I was on my dad's shoulder. He was consoling me. "It's okay, monkey, it's okay." But I couldn't stop crying because it hurt me physically and emotionally. It was a nightmare. And ever since, I became scared of heights. Have you been to the Universal Studios in Singapore?
Yes.
Must be. I have been. Have you tried the Battlestar Galactica? The most adventurous rides? But I haven't. Because I was scared of heights. I've never been onto the Singapore Flyer because I was scared of heights. I have never been on, had a walk on the treetop. Same reason. And yes, I have been to the MBS, what's that?
Gardens by the Bay, the sky room?
Yes, yes, but I totally missed the fun part of going to the top because I was scared of heights. When I said no to those activities, eventually my friends stopped inviting me for any fun activities that involved with heights. In 2017, we planned to go take a trip to Australia, Brisbane. We went there, and I was checking the itinerary. There was one day I spotted, it was totally empty, there was no activities or exploration. I asked my friend, "Hey Priya, why this day there was no activities?" And she said, "No, but actually yes. We wanted to try the skydiving." And I was like, why wasn't I invited? She said, "Allona, for the obvious reason that you are going to say no." She was right. I was going to say no. Then I asked myself, for how long am I gonna say no to anything that involves with the height? Probably this is the time that I should try. So I told Priya, "All right, this time count me in." So we went to the skydiving academy called Tandem beside the Red Cliff Beach in Brisbane. That's my instructor. I met him there, and he let me watch the how my parachute was packed. It was interesting, something I saw for the very first time. I was instructed what to do and what not to do. By the time I wore the skydiving suit, I forgot everything. I was super nervous, and the back in my mind, the only thing I heard was fear, fear, fear. We went to the skydiving spot, got onto the plane. The plane took off. I told my friends, okay, I'll jump last because I don't want anybody to see my shame moment. So I sat last, and my instructor, he clapped my suit against his. He did some security checks. Allona, everything okay? I said, no, Allona is not okay. The plane was floating 15,000 meters above from the sea level. The shutter opened. I had butterflies in my stomach. I saw my friends were jumping. 1 down, 2 down, 3 down. That was my turn. My instructor asked me, jump! I said, no! I was reluctant to jump. I said, please, no, I can't do this. He said, Allona, you're gonna be fine. Trust me. I looked down. This time, my world did not collapse because I closed my eyes. Just jump anyway. Because they won't give you refunds. I jumped. The wind, I was going through the wind. It was a free fall. It was windy, intense, and loud. I couldn't see anything because I closed my eyes. Suddenly, I struggled to breathe because I totally forgot how to breathe. The instructions were forgotten in my mind. But the survival instinct kicked in. I somewhat figured out you had to breathe in through your mouth and breathe out through your nose. When I started breathing, I opened my eyes. Then I saw a different perception of the world. It was scenic. The earth looked so small, and my problems looked even smaller, and my fear disappeared. That was my moment of realization. My message to you is, unless you learn to fall, you will never be able to fly. I realized the fear was just in my mind. I was feeding it all the while, rather than facing them. That day I made a promise to myself, wherever I travel, I'm going to climb to the top and see the beautiful world. So you can see how I enjoyed it. The view was beautiful. And yes, my promise is on turning my childhood fear into my favorite hobby. I consider myself very lucky because I was able to face my fear. I had a family, I had friends who were very supportive. But not every child is able to face their fear. Especially Richard Ramirez. Richard Ramirez was born in Mexico in 1960. At the age of 5, his parents decided to move to US with his 4 siblings. Richard Ramirez, including his 4 siblings, were born with birth defects as bone deformities. That was the result because his mother was exposed to fumes chemical during pregnancy back in Mexico. Being raised by a strict Catholic family, Ramirez's father asked him to join the Catholic altar boy. So he became an altar boy at the age of 6. At the same age, he had to face the violent temper of his father. He feared his father. Every night his father come home and beat Ramirez to death. The poor child, there were days he went and hid himself under the table, behind the cupboard, but every time he got caught. He told his father, "Father, no, I didn't do anything wrong." But his father kept on. The poor kid who couldn't sleep in the night at home, he stepped out and went to the neighborhood cemetery just to have some sleep. This continued for another 6 more years. Ramirez turned 12, hoping that somebody would dare to help him, listen to him, guide him, and get him out of this torture. That was the time his cousin, much elder cousin called Miguel, who was a US soldier returned from Vietnam War to US. Ramirez saw hope in his elder cousin. So he spilled the beans about his fear on his father and the torture he had to go through. But Miguel did not give him a reply. Instead, he showed pictures of Vietnamese women, and Miguel started to say how he abused and raped those women and tortured them to death. Poor Ramirez was shocked. He didn't know what to do. Few days later, Miguel invited the child to his home. He went, and he witnessed Miguel torturing his wife and killing her brutally. Ramirez was shocked. He couldn't handle that. Then Miguel looked at Ramirez. "You told me you fear your father. She was also scaring me. Look what I did. Anything fear you, kill them, destroy them." The child believed so. The same night, Ramirez was sleeping at the cemetery. In the middle of the night, he woke up. He started walking faster. He started running, and he intruded into a valley. He spotted an independent house. He observed the window was unlocked. So he barged into the home. That was the first theft Ramirez committed. Afterwards, he came home. He looked at his father. His father was showing his back. He called, "Father." He turned. Ramirez tagged him. "You thought I fear you? This ends today." By the time he mastered hiding the dead bodies. That incident turned an innocent, abused child to a most evil soul. Afterwards, Ramirez, he followed Satanism, he got addicted to drugs, and he committed many murders. Every day for the thief, one day for the owner. Yes, he got caught. Finally, the California State Police caught the Night Stalker, who was Ramirez. When he was sentenced, he was sentenced for committing 13 counts of murders, 11 counts of rape, 5 counts of murder attempt, and 16 counts of burglary. He was given 19 death sentences, but he died at California prison while waiting for his execution. This is how the story ends for Ramirez. It's probably what the killer deserved, but how about the poor child who just feared his father? So how come one child's fear can be turned into a hobby and another child's fear can be turned him as a murderer? Researchers say that there is two types of fear. One is a typical childhood fear. I got hurt and I completely avoided it, just like my case. And the second type of fear is very dangerous, that caused by exposure to the violent. It is very hard to cure. So as a parent and future parent, let our children be heard. Talk to them about their fear. Ask them, what was it? Talk to them about their guilt and maltreatment. Try to differentiate, is it a typical fear or is it something out of the violence that they were exposed to? Singapore stats from the police force shows the top 3 offences by the young offenders are shop theft, cheating and sexual penetration. And the overall number shows, I'm happy it is decreasing, but I'm terrified for the fact that the young offenders still do exist. And I'm wondering if their parents had a talk with them, if they were given a voice to talk, it could have been avoided. So with a great message, let's not create another Ramirez for our society. Let's give voice to our children. Let our children be heard. With a message, thank you ladies and gentlemen.